Do you ever have those moments in life that are so crazy, they're so outrageous that you're scared to tell people because you think they're just going to call you a liar and not believe you? I'm sure you have. We've all had moments just like this where there is a blessing of Allah that comes into our life that is so profound that it is hard to tell other people about this moment. So the first time this happened to me, I told you guys about it, where I was kind of kidnapped by this crazy chick and jumped out of the car on the freeway and felt as if I teleported. Well, this moment happened to me once again. I was just in Hurricane Helene and nothing happened to me. And actually, I was supposed to be on an island where the sea level rose 8 feet. Yes, I was supposed to be 8 feet underwater during this recent hurricane, and due to a random technical issue within VRBO, a vacation rental platform, I ended up going to another house. So let me explain a little bit more, and I do have screenshots of the conversation with the vacation rental, the homeowner, explaining exactly what happened, and nothing makes sense. So it's no surprise I've been traveling and I am in Florida. I don't like to share my location, so I kind of get it hidden. There's a lot of stuff with my private life that I don't like to put on the internet because of the amount of threats on my life that I get on a daily basis. When you speak out for Palestine and you speak out against corruption, you will see that there is tons of people who want to end you. Since the cat's out of the bag, what I've been doing is traveling. I've been traveling for a few months now, and I'm going to continue to travel for the next 3 to 4 months. But because I'm not making as much money as I used to, I search for vacation rentals that are discounted, things that have like open vacancies, maybe not the nice places ever, but they're not too expensive. And whenever you search hard enough, you start to find places that are cheaper than I was spending in rent in, say, Austin or in Denver. So while hunting for these discounted vacation rentals, I found one on an island in the Gulf of Mexico. I spoke with the homeowner, made sure she was cool with Diamond, my dog, and everything was good to go. I ended up paying the money and reserving the vacation rental. Well, this is about a week before the hurricane showed up. And I've never really thought of hurricanes as an issue. I know they can cause some destruction, but I really like weather. I like when it rains, I like when it storms. It's something that I find very beautiful. I'm sure some of you guys have seen, like I post them on my story all the time on Instagram. Now, the day before I was supposed to go to this house on an island, for some reason it got canceled. And it was not canceled by me, and it was not canceled by the host either. You guys will see in the screenshots. And I just assumed that the host may have canceled it, so I reached out to her, tried to find out what was going on, and she sent me a payment request, so I resubmitted the payment. Even though the original payment was still pending, so my money was still locked, I just submitted another one just to get it done and over with. And for some reason, it canceled about a couple hours later. So no matter what we did, no matter what I did or the homeowner did, for some reason, this reservation just kept getting canceled over and over again. We tried multiple times to the point where we even reached out to VRBO where they didn't give us much help. They were just saying, oh, well, retrying your payment, or it was like an automated response that didn't really tell me much. So I had to be out of the place I was in the next day. So I just panicked and started reaching out to everybody I could find that had a rate that I can afford. And I just went to another location that ended up being more inland. Now, this is where things got really weird for me because 2 or 3 days later after going to the next spot, Hurricane Helene shows up on the map and I get tornado and hurricane warnings on my phone. When those warnings showed up and I looked at the map and saw exactly where the hurricane was heading, the strangest emotion came over me. My stomach sank at the same time I started smiling because I noticed, I realized exactly what happened. I was so stressed out in that moment where my reservation got canceled. I was so worried about having to sleep in a car or be homeless for a couple nights until I can find another place. I was stressed beyond belief. I was panicking and freaking out. But whenever everything played out, that stressful moment, that moment I was so worried about was a true blessing in disguise. If that reservation hadn't have been canceled, I would have been 8 feet underwater. I would have lost everything. I have my dog with me. Everything would have been in danger. Everything would have been lost because of the storm surge that came through the hurricane. This is where the sea level rose. It rose 6 to 8 feet at the location I was supposed to be at. Everything would have been underwater. I want everybody to understand, you never know. You never know in that hard time, that hard moment you're going through, you never know, it may be a blessing. It may be a massive blessing in disguise, because if those reservations did not get canceled and I didn't go under that moment of stress, the stress I would have felt while everything is flooding is going to be 10 times worse. Everything I loved and cared about would have been underwater and flooded and in danger. But when the hurricane hit at the other hand and everything was perfectly fine, it almost brought me to tears. There was this moment of where I felt like I wasn't good enough. And I know this is imposter syndrome and some of us get this, but I felt guilty kind of. I felt like I didn't deserve that kind of blessing, like how large that was. But it was in that moment where I asked myself, I was completely baffled and blown away, and I asked myself, how did I get this far without Allah? How did I get this far without the Quran? And I was kind of shocked and felt a bit of fear that I lived my life this long. I know I'm young, I'm not quite 30 just yet, but how did I get this far without the Quran? How did I get this far without this faith where I'm able to be protected and do these prayers and receive things that are blessings in my life that protect me from all this harm? And then I thought further on it, and I start to realize that He was there the entire time. God has been there throughout my entire life. I didn't get this far without Allah. I got this far because of Allah. I'm stubborn by nature. It's really hard for me to learn things. I'm difficult to deal with sometimes. So I had to learn the hard way. I had to go through all these difficult moments so I can look at myself in the face and only blame myself for my actions, where there's no one else to blame but me and my choices. And all these hard moments that I dealt with in my past were pure learning lessons, and I just wasn't ready for the Quran. I probably wouldn't have opened up my heart to it. As unfortunate as that was in the moment, it makes me stop to realize and think about all the people who don't have the Quran in their life. And thinking about those individuals kind of clicked something in me and made me realize, maybe find a path where we can get people to Islam without a negative or any kind of tension or any kind of fight. Because Allah is with us from beginning to end, He's always been there. We can point that out to individuals. We can show people their blessings. So whenever we meet people that are not Islamic, they've never opened up the Quran, and they're even have strong objections against the faith, we, instead of pointing out their flaws, saying, hey, this, and this is wrong. This is wrong inside your Bible. Maybe we can point out all the positives, especially for the atheist. I think the atheists need this more than anybody else, explaining to them that there's moments in their life where God was there. Those unexplainable moments was the blessing of Allah that you never realized. And if you feel gratitude towards these moments, you're going to get a lot more blessings. Now, there's another layer on top of this. For the people or the individuals that don't feel like they're worthy of God's forgiveness, they don't feel like they're worthy of God's blessings, this may be a big reason why people don't come to the faith. They feel like they're too guilty. They feel like they're too guilty for forgiveness, and they kind of avoid the faith or will make excuses to not open the Quran because they don't feel like they're good enough to be a part of the community. And I can tell you firsthand, this was something I struggled with. Whenever I first got to Islam and even said the Shahada, I didn't tell people publicly because I didn't feel like my lifestyle was good enough to consider myself a Muslim. And letting people know that they've had blessings from Allah the entire time might be able to change their perspective on that, to let them know that God was there through them, through their flaws and everything. God has been there your whole entire life. So even when you were at your worst, when you were acting worse than you've ever been, God still blessed you. And this may help people start to accept that God is here and accept that they are good enough to change. They can be better. Now, I appreciate every single one of you. I'm going to do my best to keep this as frequent as possible, to be posting more consistently. I am working on a book currently. I had you guys comment on a video about a month ago, all your experiences that you had where God changed your life, or a blessing that you had that was just so unreal it's hard to talk about. I've actually been taking those comments and putting them into a book, a whole catalog of people's own testimonies of the blessings of Allah. So if you guys have a moment like this, please put it in the comment section. I will add it to the book. I'm putting everybody's and their story all together so other people can pick this up and see the blessings that God has given to others. And just like all the rest of the books, it's going to be on donations only. When it comes out, if you want to support, I really appreciate it. And if you don't have the money, don't worry about it at all. There's a reason why I put them for free.